What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talker. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, they had a surprise name back at OTAs yesterday, and, well, Cam Heyward gave us plenty to talk about. We're going to dive into what we took away from his press conference and him being back at practice, what it means for the future, and if a contract or a holdout is more likely for the Steelers defensive captain. Meanwhile, it's been a beautiful couple of days here in the Burgh. We're halfway through the last week of organized team activities here, but still plenty of action. And yesterday was a good one. It was a good one. A little sweaty, but it was a good one. How are you feeling, my friend?
It was very sweaty yesterday. I think I'm still kind of feeling some sweat dripping off of me from yesterday, but it was a good day yesterday. It was a really good day. Vibes were incredibly high. I mean,
yes.
I started yesterday. I'm starting my day. Practice starts. I'm watching the quarterbacks throw a little bit, watching some special team stuff, and then all of a sudden I see a crowd start gathering around the defensive linemen as they do their warm-ups, do their drills, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should go check that out. And turns out that was a good idea because there was some big stuff happening over there.
Yeah, Cam showing up. What was your reaction? How shocked were you? You were there. I was driving to the facility when I got your text, which was just a picture of Cam that said Cam's back, and I said, holy crap, okay, didn't see that one coming. What was your reaction when you walked over, saw Big 97 standing there?
Well, I was like, first of all, I got to text Noah, and then I got to get some video, and then I really want to see how Mike Tomlin reacts to it, because Mike Tomlin immediately saw every member of the media walk over to Cam Heyward, walk over to the defensive lineman, start taking some videos. He and Cam start posing for pictures. He's cracking jokes. He's telling Keanu Benton, I'm not talking to you at all today. I do not care about you today. We got 97 back, and today's all about him. It was really funny. The vibe's really high. You could tell Cam was just smiling ear to ear as he's going through these drills. He was really excited to be back, and I think that's the biggest thing. Cam is just someone who I think it is impossible to keep him away from football for very long, and he made sure of that. So I'm sure it was, a bit of a tough decision to come back, a tougher decision to stay away, but everyone, to a man, was, I think, happy to see Cam back on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think just him being there, it probably was an emotional decision and something that just wanting to be back on the field played a role in. But at the same time, I think that it's potentially a good indication that him and the Pittsburgh Steelers are on really good terms and that they are working through this despite some sort of drama or dramatic way of going about some things that maybe spark some negative headlines. I think that the love is still very, very strong, hasn't hindered whatsoever. Cam spoke after practice. You were in that press conference talking to 97 and everything that it means and what it doesn't mean and where he and the Pittsburgh Steelers stand, a potential hold-in during training camp. What were your big takeaways talking to him afterwards?
Yeah, so I think the first one was he doesn't really seem to think that he and the Steelers are anywhere close, quite honestly, to a contract extension. What he said was, I don't think a deal is happening tomorrow. He kind of said that as a joke, but I kind of took that to mean that he and his representation of the Steelers are still pretty far apart on a deal. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that he addressed, obviously, the holdout, a potential for a holdout at training camp. He said he plans to be there, doesn't exactly know, hasn't really thought about, allegedly, he told us, what he will do at training camp when he does get there, whether he'll practice, whether he'll hold in. We don't really know yet, and doesn't sound like he's decided either. I think we're still a long way from it. We still got one more week of OTAs. We still got rookie minicamp, and then we got a long break before they convene in Latrobe for the start of training camp. So I'd say those were the two biggest things. But then he also dropped a kind of the biggest nugget, I thought, was he said he feels like he has at least 3 years left, or 3 years left. So he kind of put a pretty hard, I guess not a hard limit on himself, but he only imagines himself playing football for 3 more years. I assume that's including this year. So I think Cam is kind of recognizing his own mortality here. I think that's a part of the contract negotiations as well. When Cam's coming out and saying, look, I'm only playing for X number of years, he recognizes the wear and tear on his body, the desire to, spend a bunch more time with his family and everything like that. I think he's recognizing all of that and taking all of that into account. And I think that's part of, his conversations with the Steelers about, okay, what kind of deal do get me on? How much is it going to be? That all has to kind of play into, look, I'm only playing for 3 more years, and I think I can be really good for those 3 years, but it is only going to be 3 years, and everyone's got to start thinking about exit strategies and how they prepare for life after Cam, because, so admittedly, he's not going to be around forever, and everyone's got to prepare for that.
Yeah, and you said it yesterday. You said Cam's real gray. Didn't realize how gray Cam was getting. It's noticeable when guys start hitting the age of, you could tell that you've taken a beating for a decade. You've been hit by a train 18 times a year for a decade. It's tough. It starts to really wear on your body. But I think there's multiple things here. Let's start with the holdout and where Cam is currently. They're not close on a contract, so you can't imagine that they're going to be close come training camp. You probably would imagine that happens later in training camp, closer to the season. A hold-in isn't the worst thing in the world. It's happened a number of times with guys like TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Alex Highsmith, Deontay Johnson. It's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers have somewhat adapted. And honestly, it's a better way to go about things, because you lose the negative, crazy, dramatic headlines. You lose the Brandon Ayuk isn't at the 49ers facility, or Micah Parsons isn't showing up, or whatever, or anybody deleting anybody from their social media, which seems to be the new trend when it comes to the NFL. It just allows you, hey, I'm here, but I'm not practicing. I'm not putting my body at risk until I have a deal locked up. I mean, do you anticipate a deal gets done beforehand? I don't know if I do. And a hold-in, is that an issue for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially if they're nowhere close on a deal right now?
Yeah, I don't think a deal gets done before training camp starts. I think they'll definitely get one done before week 1, but I don't think it'll be before training camp. But I do think we're going to have a week or two where Cam is holding in, and I don't think that's going to be a disaster. I think it's going to be really tough for Cam to continue to hold in. I mean, look, if he couldn't stay away for more than a couple weeks of OTAs, then I doubt he'll be able to stay away when there's, a full team out there. It's training camp. The season's bearing down on you, and he's really feeling the pressure to get ready now. So I just don't think he'll hold out for long, but I think he is going to have to take a week or two and not do anything at OTAs. Like you said, that's not a disaster. I mean, not only has it happened before, but it's honestly almost better for Cam. I mean, this is a guy who, at 35 years old, I mean, Mike Tomlin alluded to this during OTAs too. He said it's almost better that Cam isn't here, and we can get a look at the guys who we don't really know anything about. I think they're going to kind of take the same approach. They're not going to panic because Cam's not doing every single drill for the first couple weeks of training camp, and I think they're going to kind of live with that. I just think it's going to be Cam who's going to drive this. How low is he willing to go? How much is he willing to settle on a contract extension if it means he gets back on the field playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because I think that's all he wants to do. That's all he's really ever wanted to do. And I just think he's going to be impossible to keep away from practicing with the Steelers for very long.
I think that at some point middle ground is met, just because exactly what you said. Cam just wants to be out there. And at some point, the Steelers are going to look at it and say, okay, well, we can afford this, so let's just do this. It doesn't break the bank. I would imagine incentives are a very heavy thing in Cam's next contract, just to kind of get things to a place where he feels comfortable and they feel comfortable. And I don't know, I don't want to say I don't trust, but I think the reports of, Cam isn't going to get anywhere near the number that he's looking for, or maybe a bit dramatic. I think that the Steelers will try to find a way to make him happy, while at the same time making sure that financially they're in a good spot and they have the options to do this or do that. And you could always rework these things. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if he has an understanding of, hey, look, your contract might be $13-14 million a year with upwards of 16-17. We're going to probably restructure that each year for the next 2 years to make sure that turns into a signing bonus and we gain some cap space, because that's just wild to think that that's not, that's a number that we're comfortable with for a 36-year-old. And I think that that's a ground that they'll stand on.
Right. And I think there's some goodwill going both ways. Neither side seems to, I think you mentioned this at the top of the show. I don't think there's any resentment between either side. I think they both kind of understand that this is just the business. Cam is at a certain point in his career. He's at a certain point with his contract situation, and the Steelers are at kind of an inflection point with the guys that they're going to have to pay, the young people they have on this team, possible extensions coming up for other guys as well. They've got a lot of math to do, and Cam is a pretty major part of that math. It's not something that they can take lightly. And the same goes for Cam. It's just not. He's at a point in his career where he's got to take this really seriously too. I don't think Cam's ever shown that he is not a team player, that he's not fully invested in the Steelers winning. So I think that goes a long way to these negotiations being a lot more civil and probably getting resolved in a much more I don't even know what the word is, decent or amicable way. I think everyone's going to come out relatively happy, even if there's some short-term pain.
Yeah, I could see a situation where, remember TJ stomped into Art Rooney's office and slammed the door and was like, I'm signing, screw it, give me the paper, who cares, I'm not looking for more money. I think that could happen where it's just like, look it, man, let's just come to an agreement and figure this out. And I think the Steelers are a very peaceful team when it comes to their negotiations. So I think that this is going to turn out in a positive way, and it's big news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just for him to be back at OTAs, massive news. While we are recording this podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers get some pretty big breaking news in the cornerback department. The Steelers are reportedly, according to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac, set to meet with cornerback Cam Sutton today and sign him to a one-year deal for a veteran minimum. We came into this podcast talking about, well, Cam Sutton's not going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers because he's put his house up on the market, and that means that he's done. That has changed. He is back in the city of Pittsburgh. The Steelers get a slot corner or an outside corner, really just a veteran guy who could come in here with plenty of starting experience that the Steelers loved when he was here, a veteran leader. Your reaction, you're just learning this the same time I'm learning this live on the show. Your reaction to Cam Sutton coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I guess Cam must be buying a nicer house somewhere, I guess, with his new contract. Wow.
His vet minimum contract.
Yeah, hey, it's not chump change.
No,
but
$1 million is $1 million.
But yeah, that's pretty surprising, man. I didn't see that coming. I wasn't ready for it, but that's a pretty massive upgrade. I mean, we had talked pretty much all during OTAs about how none of these slot options were really impressing any of us. And I guess I don't know, seems like we had a pretty good beat on what the Steelers front office and the coaching staff was thinking, because they don't seem to be very impressed with the Steelers cornerback situation either, at least at the slot position. That's where I'd have to imagine Cam Sutton plays, where he, plays most of this year. I assume it'll still be Dante Jackson on the outside. It'll still be Joey Porter on the other side, obviously. And then you got your full secondary there. I mean, that's a pretty massive hole to fill. Probably the last hole that you have to worry about. I think the only remaining domino that kind of has to fall is, okay, is Cole Holcomb healthy? And do you have, enough backup defensive linemen to make it work? And, quite honestly, those are minor things in the grand scheme of things. Like the Steelers found their last starter, I guess you could say. Like,
yes,
you filled your last starting position with Cam Sutton, and you did it at a pretty high level. I think Cam Sutton, can still really play. The situation is really good. He knows the Steelers scheme. He's familiar with just about everything they do. I can't think of a better football fit for this team at this point in the offseason.
Yeah, it's you could talk about the Patrick Peterson or whatever. Cam Sutton was the one that made the most sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, hands down. He's so versatile, just like you said. He's the slot guy. Dante Jackson and Joey Porter Jr. on the outside. And to be totally honest, that's a great three. That's the best three that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in a while, because you could say Cam Sutton fell off last year in Detroit. He probably didn't have his best year. Cam Sutton's a really good slot corner, and he's been a really good slot corner. That's where he started his career, as the nickel guy / versatile piece. He's incredibly smart, incredibly physical. I think he's got a ton of potential. He's still only 28 years old, maybe 29 years old at the most. I just think the signing makes a ton of sense. Like, you could have your issues with them, and they're totally understandable, and you have to at some point agree with them, but purely football. And as the season goes on, the conversation will become more purely football. Cam Sutton will make an impact for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their defense in a massive way. And I think it solves their last remaining issue. At this point, if the Steelers cornerback room works out the way that it looks right now, you're looking at Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, Cam Sutton. I mean, we'll see what happens with Anthony Averett. We'll see what happens with Beanie Bishop. I'm sure one of those two make the roster. Then you got Darius Rush, who looks like he's taken a step forward. Hopefully Corey Trice, who looks like he's taken a step forward. That's a pretty impressive cornerback room for a group that, 25 minutes ago, we were looking at going, there are some issues, and maybe a guy in Graylin Arnold is an answer. To come in here with Sutton, that's That's pretty big. Do you think, and I know, there's more talk about Cam, but do you think this, when it's all said and done and there's still a lot going on here, does Beanie Bishop or does Anthony Averett, in your eyes, have a better opportunity to make this roster behind him?
I think Beanie Bishop just because of the youth. I don't think Averett has been particularly impressive, and that's not to say Bishop has either, but one of them is an undrafted free agent, one of them's a rookie, and the other is a 6-year veteran.
Yep.
I think
Who hasn't played in 2 years.
Right. So I think because you have so many veterans in front of him, you bank on the younger talent, I would have to imagine, as opposed to a guy like Averett, who has been a starter before, has that experience, but I mean, like, you got enough of that at this point, I think, especially with Sutton in the mix. Like, I'm going with Beanie Bishop. I'm banking on the upside. I'm going to give him some time to develop, especially with all these veterans in front of him. I think that's the safer bet for the Steelers right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you could have a very good, group of young guys really all young guys. Like Dante Jackson's not old. Cam Sutton is not old. These are not Patrick Petersons. These are not, Joe Hayden's a couple of years ago or whoever. These are 28-year-old guys who still have at least 2 or 3 years of quality play left in their game. And then you got Joey Porter Jr., who's your superstar, 2 guys behind him who are young, and then Beanie Bishop, who's an undrafted rookie with plenty of potential. That's a great group. That's I agree with you. I think Beanie Bishop is the guy that probably holds the upper hand here. He's got to impress, but you're going to take a shot on a guy who has more potential than a guy who's pushing 30, and isn't capable of or has kind of reached his ceiling at this point where they stand. Massive news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm guessing this shuts down any Patrick Peterson rumors. I think that most likely puts that.
If they hadn't been shut down already.
Yeah, it's the end of that one. I don't know. Is that the last move for the defense? Is this where we stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Is Cam Sutton the final piece to this puzzle?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think you're just waiting on kind of the Heyward domino to fall too on the defensive line. That's really the only thing I could think of. It's getting guys back that you kind of already have in house. So it's Cam getting back to work. It's seeing where Cole Holcomb's at. Like, I still think you could use one more inside linebacker. I think Cole Holcomb can be that guy if he's ready. But even then, I feel like you've got enough in Peyton Wilson to at least survive for the first couple weeks until, like, even if Cole Holcomb's not ready for week 1, I can't anticipate, it's like we're waiting until the bye week for him to come back. And I think maybe you add one more defensive lineman, but even then, I think you're fine there. I would expect this is the last major move that the Steelers need to make before the season starts, barring anything completely unforeseen.
Yes, and look at it like this. The Steelers just signed Cam Sutton for a league minimum deal, so that's like $1 million. Let's just say $1 million and change. You are now coming into the final dead period, the month before the month before training camp. You have essentially, let's say, because you still got to sign Zach Frazier. You just signed Graylin Arnold. You're probably looking at, $13 million in available funds, $12 million at the worst after the Troy Fautanu move. You could go get a wide receiver. You can make that happen. You still got space to work with TJ and Minka's contract. You could release some guys. Like, you got options. You got a lot of options if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers to go out and make that final move, which is most likely a wide receiver. And this team is, could you imagine if the Pittsburgh Steelers pull off a wide receiver move? There are no questions. The question is, can Russell Wilson be good? That's the only question that's left on this team. Impressive offseason. And to top it off with this one, very impressive offseason.
Yeah, and I think there were different points where we were saying, like, yeah, they made some nice moves, but there's still so many holes that they seem to be ignoring. Yes. I guess we just need to wait a little bit longer. Like Omar Khan is never wrong. Just it's just early, I guess, is what we're looking at. Omar
Khan is. Did you see the rankings? I don't know who they were from, but he was like the 30th of 32 GMs the other day, and I was like, I get it. He's inexperienced, and there's a lot of guys who are. Omar Khan is a stud, man, and he does studly things with this team constantly, and you got to give him props. This is another great one. Have what you say about Cam Sutton, but this is a good move.
There are also some bad GMs out there.
Bad GMs, really bad GMs, really bad GMs. The Steelers have literally, they have done the dirty to the Chicago Bears and Brian Poles twice now. And I don't know where he ranked, but if
he was
Omar's 30th, he's 31 or 32. That's the answers there. Like, I don't know who's the GM in Denver. Is it still John Elway? I don't think it is John Elway. I think it's somebody new.
Don't think I could tell you. But
what
also,
they did with
Atlanta, signing a $160 million quarterback and then drafting 1/8 overall. Like,
that's what I'm saying. You got whoever's in Cleveland. Like, there's just there's bad GMs out there, man. Omar Khan's killing it. There hasn't been a move yet. That's the biggest thing with him. There hasn't been a move yet with Omar Khan where you've looked at it and went, that was a bad move. Not one. Deontay Johnson's the closest you could get. And I think that's still yet to be seen because the Steelers still got time to make that work and make that happen in the right way. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, we were going to talk about Grayland Arnold coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers and what it indicates.
But, yeah.
Looks like we were spot on with what it indicated. We were pretty locked in on that one. There is one more thing because we were going to talk about Cam Sutton firing up his house and putting it on the market. And anybody who needed a house, go hit up, I think it's in Jefferson Heights. I have no idea. There's one more. Another superstar tossed a very interesting hypothetical at the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. Nick, I'm going to toss it to you. What you got for us?
Well, Dallas Cowboys superstar Micah Parsons is in a contract situation of his own with the Cowboys, and while it seems like he's not looking to play anywhere else, at least according to Clarence Hill, a Cowboys reporter down there in Dallas, saying that while he has no interest in playing anywhere else, if he hypothetically did go somewhere else in his career, it would be to join the Pittsburgh Steelers and not the Philadelphia Eagles, partly so he could play for Mike Tomlin.
That's a big one. It's a big one. It's not going to happen, but it would be a massive name for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the fact that, I mean, people are going to take it as face value and be like, oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, I'd go there too. I mean, I think it'd be really tough for any Dallas Cowboy to be like, yeah, I'm going to go hang out in Philly and sign with the Eagles, and that's going to be the thing. My big thing, Micah Parsons, there's a bunch of hypotheticals, and I think you got some interesting notes on this. My first thought was he did have some harsh things to say about TJ Watt. Do you think that gets brushed over?
Yes, I think if you sign Micah Parsons, I think you'll live with I think you'll live with it.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, this isn't going to happen.
Yes.
This could happen. They could make it work. They could make it work. I mean,
people have said a lot of times that I'm the guy that comes up with the crazy stuff here. I'm listening to you on this one.
I'm just saying it could. So, I mean, look, in 2026, when Micah Parsons is a free agent, Steelers currently, set to have $180 million in cap space because, they only have like half a roster together under contract for 2026. But assuming you kind of get close to a reasonable number, we get closer to 2026. I mean, I'm pretty sure at that point, Cam Heyward's going to come off the books. I think who else is going to come? Larry, Isaac Seumalo probably not going to be on the books in 2026 either.
Larry O's off the books at that point.
Larry O, Cole Holcomb probably. Like you are only paying guys from now. You do have a couple like big extensions to think about. I mean, TJ Watt's going to be up for an extension or a new contract by 2026. So I assume they're going to.
Pickens.
George Pickens.
Joey Porter will be close.
Keanu Benton, I think. Benton will be in the last year of his. So
yeah, him and Joey.
Wouldn't be the easiest thing in the world, but I mean, Alex Highsmith's, his $20 million cap hit is sitting right there as well. And so if you get TJ a new contract, you kind of say, hey, can we get off Alex Highsmith somehow? Which I can't imagine there isn't a team that wouldn't want Alex Highsmith,
Yeah, I agree.
I get it. That contract's a lot, but he's a pretty premier edge rusher in this league. So there's going to be some money to play around with. And Micah Parsons, if he's worth what, $35 million, if that's what you're probably paying to prime away from Dallas, maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
Man, I agree with you, but I
mean, it's like it's a defensive player of the year. This is you could put two defensive player of the year candidates on opposite side of the defensive line if you get TJ back under. So again, is this going to happen? No, but I'm just saying. It is not impossible. It is not impossible. If there's one team that Micah Parsons is willing to play for other than the Dallas Cowboys, that one team can make it work. They can make it happen.
Look, I love the enthusiasm. I love the hypothetical here. I'm all about it. Let's get crazy and think about the craziest thing that could happen, which might be Micah Parsons coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not going to disagree with it. Like, if you have an opportunity, if you're sitting there going, well, all you got to do is get rid of this guy and trade this guy, and like, yeah, you make it work, and there's no better situation maybe in the entire NFL than Micah Parsons and TJ Watt side from side, unless somehow you tossed like Myles Garrett in there somewhere. I think it would be awesome. I think it would be incredible. I think I agree with the first half of your statement saying, will it happen? No, but I think it would be sick. It would definitely be as good as it gets.
And now we get, 2 years of free, you think Micah Parsons would come to the Steelers? We can milk this out for 2 more years, man. We can dream about it for another 2 years. We can have fun with it. I think we should allow ourselves to dream big,
I'm all for it. If the Pittsburgh Steelers want to make some wild moves and go hunting for, especially if you could get a quarterback cheap or you draft a quarterback, look at, man.
Once they sign Justin Fields to his extension for really cheap after he doesn't play this year, and Russ is great, it's all going to work out. Everything's going to be perfect. Don't worry about it.
I think it could happen. Is it gonna? No, but I think it could happen. It's a great time. I like the hypothetical. Shout out to Micah Parsons giving us something to talk about when there's nothing to talk about. I don't know how that question came up. I have no idea how that happened, but to just be like, I'm going back to Pennsylvania and I'm going to play for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the power of Mike Tomlin is real, first of all. And, shout out. He's already got it on the list. So later in his career is a real thing. Even if it's not this contract, the next one, you never know.
When Micah comes to Pittsburgh later this year, we can ask him about it.
True. Right after the game, especially if the Cowboys lose, I'm sure he'd be really, really open to be like, yes. Yeah, I am super eager to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2 years. Actually, it'll
be the last question that I ever ask.
Yes,
it would be worth it.
Because if we've learned anything, linebackers, man, anybody who's never asked a linebacker a terrifying question, a question that is going to piss him off a little bit, you should try it just once, man. There's no adrenaline rush like staring TJ Watt in the eyes as he just gives you the smirk or the look of, I could kill you right now. Like, I know you can, pal. I'm just doing my job. Here we are. So shout out Micah. With that said, we're going to head out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as we've been saying, please, please, please go subscribe to our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk clips for even more of the show. We will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.